Well, hello all, and welcome back to High Voltage Diesel. You know, I really like this thing. This thing's pretty cool. You know, I made this. Look at this. I got a 24 volt Cobalt Max battery hooked to this thing. And I just love it because I can annoy you guys. So what's up, everyone? How's everything going? As you can see, we're in the high voltage garage. What are we working on today? More like, what are we working on like the last 3 weeks? We're working on the new Holland C175. What are we doing to it? Well, we're doing that. We're doing this. Look at all this spaghetti. This is only part of it. Look at the rat's nest here. Man. There's the condenser and heater core. Just hanging out for the good time. All this other stuff. The headliner. Oh, there's some more wires we cut off. Some more wires. More wires. Look at this. Well, as you probably guess, we're rewiring the New Holland. Why are we rewiring it? Well, to make it simple. Simple. I literally took a pair of like tree branch loppers and ripped the wires out of this thing. Like, oh, I should have filmed it. I literally just ripped everything off of this machine and just cut everything out. Look at all this nonsense. So as you can see, the mice have gotten into several places of this machine, and I've had nothing but problems with this thing for like the last 3 years, and I've known that sometime I was gonna have to rewire it, and you know what? There's no better time than now, because this thing, it just keeps stopping. And all right, so let's go on a quick rant. Everyone knows that High Voltage CEO does not like safety. I like safety stuff, but not when it goes completely overboard. And that's basically what this is. So this has got a weight sensor in the seat. It's got a seat belt sensor. It's got like a tip sensor, and it's got all this nonsense. And basically the mice got in there and chewed up a whole bunch of stuff. Of course, I can't find, I think I threw away the part that they chewed up, but they chewed up like several different pieces of this wiring harness. And I've been having a lot of problems with this thing. It's been just cutting out randomly. The brakes have been coming on, and it won't start sometimes, and it just, the lights right here, they only work when they want to. And I finally had enough, because what's gonna happen is someday I'm gonna get on a job with this thing, and something's gonna happen, and it's gonna be stuck at the job, and I'm gonna be stuck going through all this nonsense on a job site. Look at all this. This is all only part of it. All this wiring, all this nonsense got replaced with 7 wires. Look at this. 7 wires. That's all we got now. Simple. Running up to the control panel anyway. 7 wires. I'll list off a few. Gas gauge, because that's important. Fuel gauge, I guess. Fuel pump. The solenoid for the injection pump. The glow plug solenoid. Got some fuses back here working on. Most of those actually go up to the cab. But this thing had wires going every which way, around here, down in there. This thing was just full of spaghetti. Most of the wires actually came out of here. But I'm not eliminating all of the safety stuff, so just hold on to your armchairs. Don't have a meltdown just yet. So This has boom locks on it, which basically will lock the bucket. Their solenoids are right there. And it has like locks that lock the final drives up for the track, and that solenoid is right there. And that is all going to be actuated by a simple on and off switch. No more of this sensor and nonsense and BS garbage. It's gonna, everything on this thing is gonna be on and off. We are giving this New Holland a hot rod wiring harness. So this is the original display panel. This is the unlock button. When you start it up, you turn the key on and you drive. Headlights. And I don't know, I forgot. This is a fuel gauge, hour meter. This thing here is probably like $1,500 from New Holland. Here, this is the new one that I built all by myself. Look at that. Easy. Volt gauge, fuel gauge, and hour meter. We're turning this into a brand new machine. When I get this done, it's gonna have 0 hours on it. Oh yeah. Okay, so this is going to be the track and boom lock switch. Start the machine up, boom, unlocked. This is the 2-speed, which never worked. It's gonna, one of these is gonna be fast and slow. This one is going to be the headlights and the tail lights, all in one switch, boom. This was supposed to be a push button, but I don't have a push button. This is the horn, which never worked, and is gonna work now. So there's the on and off switch. Fuel gauge is very important on this thing. I'd like to put a couple more gauges in here, especially a water temperature gauge, but the water temperature gauges, the mechanical ones, usually come with so much cord or whatever that you'd go into the motor, and there's not really room, so I might hook that up later on and put it up there somewhere along with the oil pressure gauge, but I just mainly focusing on getting this going. And then here is the original key switch. So what you used to do is you used to turn the key on the run position, and then the glow plug light would come on, and then you'd wait for the glow plug light to shut off, and then you'd start it. Well, now you're gonna turn the key on the on position, you're gonna push this button in, this push button in for 10 seconds, whatever it takes, and then you're gonna start it. Simple. There's no need to have all these delay things and all this just completely nonsense in here. There's no reason things can't be made the way they were. You know, all this automatic stuff is nice. I'm not like bashing well, I am bashing automatic stuff, but it is nice when it works. But when it don't work, and when the mice get in there and start eating up wires and giving you problems, and then you gotta trace through 5 billion wires and all this rubbish to try to find the problem, that's when you appreciate having a wiring harness that only has 7 wires to it. Alright, so there's something that I've never tried before that I'd like to try for the first time. Well, I mean, I've done this before. I usually just smash these eyelets on with a hammer. This is the main wire that goes from the starter to the battery, and the end was completely corroded off. And this welding lead one is the only one here that I have. Usually there's a tool that you get for this, but I'm going to put a screw in there so it kind of crimps it. I'm going to put this up like that. We're just going to see what happens. Things. Of course, hard doing this without a tripod. Yeah. All right. Let's see what we ended up with. Oh yeah. Look at that. What's wrong with that? That looks almost like it does when the tool does it. Just saved myself 500 bucks for a tool. Just about got everything all buttoned up. I never go through and actually tidy everything up and zip tie it and electrical tape it and make it neat until I know everything works. But everything is hooked up. Got the battery all done. There's the new end I put on. Alternator's hooked up what I believe is the right way. The yellow wire is for the low voltage gauge, which I don't need that anymore. Pretty sure the red is the field, so the switched source. So I'm pretty sure I got that right, hopefully. And guess what? Look at that. Does that look good in here or what? Oh yeah. Let's see if anything works. Oh yeah. I'll look up the specs for the ohms on this fuel gauge, and I got the one, I think it was like 33 through 230 ohms, I believe, resistance for this machine, and that's the gauge I got. I don't know if it works because I can't remember how much fuel I have in this thing, but we can hear the solenoids down here for the pedals working. So when I push the button for the glow plugs, so we're gonna push that for like 10 seconds and we're gonna just try to start it quick and see what happens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Wow, look at that. Oh, we're charging. Sure looks like it. Oh yeah, look at this. Starts moving immediately. Sweet. Oh yeah, there we go. Now we got like 13 volts. All right. Freaking sweet. Huh, I wonder if that alternator's got an external regulator on it. That's like way past 14 volts. That's weird. I don't know. Huh, that's weird. It's charging that like really good. That's way over 14 volts. Look at that though. Yeah, I think I'm wondering if this thing's got a external regulator on it. All right, well that's as much as I'm gonna run it for now. Everything seems to work pretty decent. I didn't think it did. I don't think it does. Because this just went, I don't know, maybe it just charges. See, a lot of things I don't know about this. Because this machine never had any kind of volt gauge, or it never had an actual fuel gauge on it. It was just a little thing with bars on it. It never had any of this mechanical stuff, so I'm not sure what it charged at, but it's charging at like 14.5 volts, and it seems to go up as I rev it up. So I'm wondering if this thing had a external regulator on it. I'm wondering if that's what this thing is here. I don't know. This thing had a lot of weird stuff. This was some kind of resistor or something. I'm not really sure. It's really the only thing that looks like a regulator. I don't think that's a regulator though, that I took off of this. It had a lot of weird boxes and stuff on it, but Nothing really said regulator to me, because voltage regulators are usually pretty specific on what they look like. Usually, no matter the vehicle, the voltage regulators look pretty similar. I mean, they're not all the same, but they look pretty similar. I'm not seeing anything, unless it was some stupid thing like this. It looks like it's just a plug though, but it's weird because a lot of these, like 4 wires go in and 3 come out, and it had a lot of weird things like that. I don't know. That's as much as I want to run it now, because I still got a button up. I don't want anything to get sucked into the fan or anything like that. So I still got to button a lot of these loose wires up. I don't want anything to touch the exhaust or anything, so I'm going to button that up. Good day, everybody. Well, today's a new day. And the old C175 is looking more complete than it did. Look at this. Got the interior back in. Let's have a seat. Got our custom switch panel as we've seen previously. Everything's looking pretty good. Got everything all finalized, figured out. Got these side panels back on. I put the rear taillight panel back on. See, this thing here originally had a big stupid air conditioner heater system that stuck all the way out to here, which is this, as I pointed out before. But the light panel used to be on the back of that, and lo and behold, the same bolt holes that held the whole AC and heat system on matched up to hold the lights on. So I got all this bolted back on. Everything's good to go. Got everything all hooked up, and I got those wires all tidied up pretty good. Everything's all zip tied and stuff, pretty neat. It's not gonna vibrate and rub through. Nothing's touching, and everything's all tightened back up. Should be good to go. Pretty excited. Can't wait to try this thing out. It's been a long time. I've been waiting for the right time to do this, because when this machine gets taken out of service, it's not good for me, because 99% of my life is moving around heavy stuff and making room for more heavy stuff, and this thing here is like my lifeline. And to have this out of service it's been out of service for about a month now, actually, just about exactly a month. And that really stinks, having this out of service. But I knew with all the wiring issues it had, as we remember, I actually made more of a pile to show you guys what it looks like here. But look at this crap. I can't really find the spots where the mice ate through it, just because there's so much to sift through. I know it was up in the roof part, like up in the, on top of the headliner. This whole entire headliner was just a giant rat's nest, and all these wires ran through there and to that thing. And look at this. Side is it on? Oh yeah, there's the air conditioner lines right there. Those lines are supposed to go into that, and they're just broken right off. Nice mouse bed there. These motors, these squirrel cages, are pretty seized up good. I don't know what this garbage is, but this where these heater hoses go in, they're just about ready to break off, just like these ones were. So we're about ready to have a big problem. We were about ready to have a big problem with this, whether it was a massive antifreeze leak or a fire or something like that. So I knew that this was coming eventually. For now, I just have the heater. What was the heater hose is just looped. I'm gonna get some plugs down the road, but I'm gonna change the antifreeze in this anyway. Not now, but probably this spring or whatever. I'm gonna change the antifreeze. I gotta change the oil. I gotta service this anyway, do a regular service. So I'm just gonna plug these off, so I ain't gotta worry. This is one less hose that I have to worry about blowing out. But everything in here is so much simpler now. This whole back wall used to be full of wires and full of just nonsense. And that little green thing right there, that little green streak, houses seven little wires, and that's all that runs this machine. Those 7 wires go up to the switch panel and communicate with some of the relays I hooked up. I got a relay for the glow plugs and a relay for the just the main everything kind of comes on and energizes the fuel pump. There's the electric fuel pump, the solenoid that runs the injection pump, the hot field for the alternator, and some other things that energizes. So much simpler. Of course, you know, there is no, like this thing here used to be, I believe, the temperature sensor for the hydraulics. There used to be a pressure sensor for the hydraulics, you know, and there used to be some dummy lights for the temperature and oil pressure, which I am going to hook up an oil pressure and a temperature gauge at some point and run it inside somewheres, just because that's really important. But as far as the hydraulic reservoir goes, I mean, it would be nice to have a temperature, but I really don't use this machine that much. Really where you run into like temperature issues is when you're brush hogging and you're like excessively using the hydraulics. When you're just doing like bucket stuff, they can overheat, but the likeliness of it is a lot less than using some kind of motorized head or something that goes on it. You're not getting the hydraulics. And you know, when you're a gearhead like myself, it's pretty easy to see or hear a problem. You become one with these machines. And you know, I've always been like that with all my vehicles. I can tell when they're not happy. And if that doesn't make sense to you, then you're just not a real gearhead. Because if you sit in something long enough and you get to know it, you'll know if it's happy or not. You can feel it. So we are ready to put the side panels on this thing and start it up. And I gotta go out and plow some snow, because I almost got stuck a couple times with my car out there, because it's been a month since I plowed this place out, and we gotta plow some snow, like really bad. So it's a good thing this thing's getting ready to get out the door. Alright guys, it's time to start this thing up. One thing I haven't done yet, I did do a little bit of research on the alternator. We were showing that yesterday it was like between 14 and 15 volts here charging. And I did look up some stuff, and I don't see where this has a external regulator. I don't see one in any wiring diagram I find online. I don't see one from the wiring harness. I didn't see one because I was actually looking for that. And I didn't see anything like that anywhere. The only thing I found that might be close is that like porcelain resistor thing, but that don't look like a voltage regulator to me. That looks like some kind of resistor for something. But you know, I got thinking about it. I cheaped out on this. Look at, I bought the cheapest volt gauge I could. These two here were decent money. I think I paid like 30 bucks for this fuel gauge and like $20 or something for this. And this here was only like 9 or 10 bucks. I should have got a better one. So there's a good chance that this Chinesium right here might not even be accurate. So I'm gonna start this thing up and let it run, and I'm going to check it with my actual nice multimeter and see what that says right on the battery. But this is nice. You used to have to put your seatbelt on and all that, and this thing used to start beeping. And so we're going to turn the key on. Fuel gauge resets itself. 12 volts. We're going to push the glow plugs in for a little bit. Voltage drops, which is normal. Smell anything burning, and we're gonna maybe the glow plugs weren't long enough. It definitely drops. The glow plugs might not have been long enough. You know what? I think I know exactly what's going on right now. You know, I think I know exactly what's going on right now. It's weird because it started right up yesterday. And I went through this with something else. When you turn the key on, it energizes everything. And then when you go to actually start it, it de-energizes the accessory stuff. I think that's what's happening right now. It's weird though, because it started right up yesterday. I do the glow plugs a little longer. Should have started right up though. Get it. That was weird. You know, I thought that it was de-energizing the solenoid for the injection pump. I don't know. I thought that was kind of weird. I don't know. It started right up yesterday. I can't wait to see if this 2-speed thing works. Oh, those lights drop it quite a bit. Gotta kind of relearn this thing again. Everything's so much different now that it's different. All right, we got her all back in the garage. Got the plow off of it. Man, I tell you what a relief it was plowing that driveway. You seen how much snow there was in there. For a little all-wheel drive lowered vibe with little skinny tires on it. That was a challenge getting up and down the driveway, so glad I was able to get that plowed. All right, so I do have an issue. Remember how this was hard to start? I ran into this on a tractor I rewired a long time ago, and I'm surprised I didn't think of it. So I have the cutout solenoid on the injection pump. That is on the key switch, and I know what happens when you turn it on, everything energizes, but when you turn it to the start mode, it cuts the power to everything else, and then you end up with no power to all that stuff when you're trying to start it when it's most important. So as soon as it happened, I knew exactly what it was, and it's weird because I didn't catch on to that yesterday when I tried starting it for the first time. It started right up, but I shut it off and just tried starting it, and if I just bump the key, now that it's warmed up, it starts right up, but if I keep cranking it, it will not fire until I let off the key. So I remember that problem, so I'm gonna get in there and switch a couple wires around and fix that now that I know now that I know what's going on. So other than that, everything ran great though. Ran really good, didn't burn to the ground. Everything works, so very happy so far. Hopefully I won't have any problems with this thing for a long time now. Alright, just so everyone knows what we're talking about here. So the yellow wire is the main hot that comes in from the battery. The orange wire is the one that energizes the fuel pump, the solenoid for the injection pump. And what happens is when you turn the key on the on mode, all these are energized. And then when you go to start it, the start wire is the green wire, which is on top. So when you turn the key to the start position, it de-energizes this one, but this one stays energized. So I simply just have to move this wire over to this terminal and we should be all set. So it's as simple as that. All right, now that I got those wires connected, let's try this again. All right. Oh yeah, that's what we're wanting. Perfect. That is crazy how that thing just climbs. It like fluctuates. I don't really get that. That seems like that charge is way too high. But it stops at 14 though. And it goes a little past 14. I don't know. Alright, yeah, that's exactly what the problem was. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't think to check that when I put it together, but honestly, this thing ran great, and that's literally the only problem that I had with it after rewiring this entire machine. So if that was the only thing that was wrong with this, and that's the only thing I had to do is switch one wire around, I'm not complaining. If any of you guys think that something might be up with that alternator now that you see what's going on, and I'm missing something, because these projects, I mean, these rewiring projects can get pretty overwhelming. I mean, even though they're simple, there's a lot of stuff to figure out. Like with this one, there was the locks and everything to figure out for the tracks and all that. I had to figure out which was which. I actually had to call the dealer and ask them because I couldn't figure it out, and then they helped me figure out which solenoids went to what down there. And you know, I'm sure I could have figured it out if I wanted to spend hours trying to trace where the hoses and everything went, but it was quicker just to make a 10-minute phone call, and the guy actually sent me a diagram and everything of everything I needed to know. And towards the end of the plowing session there, when I was going back and forth, you'll see that I was trying out the 2-speed. The 2-speed does work. I'm really excited about that. I went, well, just over 5 years because I just paid it off. And I had this machine, 5.5 years now. And that 2-speed has never worked. So I've always been stuck in slow, low gear. And that's going to be nice because a lot of times I drive this, you know, back and forth across the field here or whatever. And man, it would just be nice to have a higher gear just to get from point A to point B, which I believe that's what 2-speed's usually made for. I don't like to push, and you know, I've had machines before with the higher speed, and I don't like to push or do anything with that because it's just too hard on the machine. But I'm sure, you know, if you do light stuff, it'll be fine. But if anybody knows what's going on with that alternator and thinks that something's wonky about it, feel free to send me a comment because I don't see any kind of voltage regulator or anything like that. And it's got a red wire and a yellow wire, and the way I've always looked at it, the red wire has always been the field that excites the magnet inside the alternator when it's switched 12 volt. And the yellow wire has always been, you know, for like a dummy light or a low voltage light or something like that. And I just simply didn't hook the yellow wire up because I have a voltmeter now. So if I glance up and see that it's, you know, under 12 volts, I know that I got a problem. So this machine, the way it's set up now, you got to use some common sense, which is fine because I'm always used to these older relics and, you know, having common sense and thinking about things is natural to me. So I don't need all this electronic automatic sensor stuff. But I'm thinking eventually I am going to put like a volt gauge or a oil pressure and a water temperature gauge. I think I'm going to mount them up here somewheres because I don't think the thing for the water gauge is going to reach all the way around here. But I can always get an electronic one. It's not a big deal. Actually, I probably might be better to get that too, but I know those are more expensive. And everything I do here at High Voltage Diesel is on a budget, as you guys see. A lot of this stuff I made this out of a piece of steel I had, and this is all budget stuff, guys. You know, I'm not fortunate enough to have tons and tons of money to throw away. If that was the case, I probably would have just bought a brand new wiring harness for this thing, or just sent it out and had somebody else do it. But when you're you know, not rich, you got to figure out ways to get by, and a lot of you guys know exactly what I'm talking about because that's just the way it is. You know, there's not many of us guys around anymore that can keep junk going, so they call it. You know what? Simplicity, man. 7 wires is all there is in that green loom there, and that's everything that goes to the control. That right there, my friend, is not simplicity. This is not simple. I don't know what these companies think by all this nonsense. The same thing with that 81359 I got. The wires I took out of that was about 10 times that. I mean, and that's an 81. I mean, that's a Peterbilt. Peterbilts are known to be way overcomplicated. But that it's just crazy because it's the same thing with the Peterbilt. I got like 8 wires or whatever going up to the dash, and then they just do the lights and just everything it needs to get by. This nonsense here is unneeded as far as I'm concerned. Make things simple again. Make things simple. There ain't no need. I don't care what anybody says, try to convince me. I don't know what that is, but there's no need for it. I don't know what that is, but there's no need for it. I don't know what that is, but there's no need for it. All you need right here is 2 wires for these motors. On a hot and a ground, and a switch that flips these on and off. If you really want to get technical, you could put a speed switch on it. That's not too bad. But all this garbage right here, you don't need it. Whatever this is, some kind of valve that shuts off the water or something, probably in the summertime or when you got the air conditioning on, would be my guess. But I guess that does make sense. Okay, so all you need there is 2 wires for a valve that shuts the water off. Why, you don't need 10. And yet there's 10 in there. You got these ones, and then there's more underneath you can't see. Right there. So you don't need all this. Useless. I don't know what this world is coming to. You guys that watch my videos regularly, thanks, because you hear the rants that I go on about, like, complicated things. Like, this world does not have to be as complicated. Wow, that sounds bright. As complicated as it is. There's a lot of other crap in there I threw out. Stupidness on this thing. It works just fine the way it is right now. I mean, I understand some of the safety stuff. The companies have to put it in there because, heaven forbid, somebody gets out and forgets to flip the switch and gets run over, and then New Holland gets sued and goes out of business. So I get it. They got to make these things idiot-proof because this world is just so sue-happy, and people are just so quick to, you know, sue somebody for something stupid like that, you know, because they don't have common sense. So they don't have common sense, and they get ran over by a skid steer, and then they go down the line and sue the company that made the skid steer because the machine wasn't dumb enough to match their dumbness. So that's just the way it is. Look at that, there's still wires everywhere. There's just wires that just came out of this thing. They're everywhere. I already threw a bunch out the door and everything. It's insane. Well, guys, I know that I didn't really do a whole lot as far as filming this, but this has kind of been a month in the making. I just been coming over here when I have time and doing some stuff, and there's not a whole lot to film as far as figuring stuff out and all that. I mean, wiring is wiring. If you're good at it, you're good at it. If you're not, you're not. I'm not going to make any kind of educational wiring hot rod videos because wiring is simple when it comes to vehicles. You have a hot and a ground. Figure it out. Everything works with a hot and a ground, and all you got to do is hook up the switches necessarily and hook everything up the way you want to hook it up. I mean, that's really all there is to it. There isn't no lessons. I mean, there's lessons on what and what not to do and where not to run wires, and that stuff should be common sense. But if you have any little bit of smart up here, you'll know that you need a hot and a ground to make everything on this thing work, pretty much. And if you could figure that out, then you can rewire a vehicle the way I do it. I won't put computers or anything in this. This is actually the main computer board thing that came out of this. And I looked it up. This thing brand new was like 1,100 bucks, and used I found them for like 500 or 600 bucks. So if anybody watching this has a C175 and they need this, I give you a good deal on it. Because I have no use for it anymore. Because of that, I don't need that. I replaced this whole thing with 3 gauges and 4 switches. Done. Don't need that. And if you want that, you can take all the wiring with it. It's probably about $10 million in copper in this thing. That's probably why these machines are so expensive. You're not buying a machine, you're buying all the copper wire for the darn thing that goes in it for the amount of money copper is these days. But anyway, if you struggled through this video and hung on till the end, thanks a lot everybody for watching. I'm gonna try to get some content up here. I started a new job, and it's a local trucking job. I deliver animal feed and stuff like that. So I've been super busy the last few weeks. That's why there was a lot of videos, and then it just basically stopped. And the weather up here in central New York has just been, I haven't seen this much snow in like over a decade. I mean, this ain't a lot of snow either. I mean, this is where I am. We only got about a couple feet, but you know, where I grew up, where the other high voltage diesel headquarters is, there's like 4 or 5 feet out there, and I haven't seen that much snow since I was a little kid back in the late 90s here. We get some snow squalls, but it's just been crazy, and it's like every single day it's either blowing wind or it's snowing or something like that. You guys up north that watch me are probably gonna laugh and you know, say, oh, there's not a lot of snow, but it's crazy because, you know, 10 years you get used to not really having any snow, and then you get dumped on like this, and then it's like, wow, I feel like I've been living in Florida for the last decade. Now it's like, wow, now we're having a winter that we haven't had in a long time. So as everything's been going, just, you know, especially a trucking job. I like this because it's all local and everything, but you know, you're still out on the road and you're still fighting it and you're still dealing with people that don't know how to drive. And at least I'm local, though. I'm not over the road. I just go within like a 50-mile radius, and that's it. Just deliver to local farms. I love it. And you know, so that's why I've been kind of scarce lately, but hopefully we'll be doing some more stuff lately. I don't know. I know you guys seem to really like the 81 Peterbilt. I post other stuff and nobody watches it, and I post 81 Peterbilt and everybody watches it, but the problem is there's nothing to do on that truck this time of the year. I don't drive it in the winter. I'm not going to run it in the winter. I want to bring it up here and do some stuff, but I just don't really have the time with the other job and everything, and the orange truck actually needs some work. I do know the next thing that needs rewiring is my Ransom's lawnmower. That thing there, it's the same thing as this. It's got, you open up the seat on it, the seat folds up, and it's got about 5 billion wires that are run every which way. And that's the same thing. The rats got into it a couple years ago, and that's been giving me issues too. But you know, lawnmowers are one of those, lawnmowers and snowblowers, like seasonal stuff. You never think about them until you need them. Like snowblowers, you never worry about treating the gas or anything like that. And then the first big snowfall you get, you're trying to start it and it don't start. And the same thing with summer stuff. Lawnmowers, they get neglected, they get shoved in a corner, and then when the grass comes, that's, you know, you're like, oh, I should have fixed this in the off season. But that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get some stuff caught up that I got to get done now that I finally got a nice warm garage to work in that I could fit stuff in. But anyway, that's enough rambling. Thanks for watching all the way through the video if you made it this far. Subscribe if you feel like it. Don't delete me. Whatever you feel necessary. Hit that notification bell so you can see more of my mouth blabble and all that stuff. And hopefully we will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.